Welcome to Fit After 40, the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. Kinsey here, certified personal trainer and menopause coaching specialist. I've worked with hundreds of clients over the past 12 years and know firsthand how intimidating starting a fitness routine can be, especially in perimenopause. My goal is to teach women in midlife and beyond how to feel strong and confident in their bodies and to help them live the healthy life they deserve, free of pain, heart disease, dementia, frailty, you name it. In this show, you'll get action steps you can take today, backed by the most up-to-date research and thousands of hours of practical in-gym experience. The best time to get started may have been 20 years ago, but the second best time to get started is today. Hello, and welcome to Fit After 40, Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. Coach Kinsey here, and I am just doing a quick systems check because I think my podcasting platform has updated, and gosh, things that beep boop just confuse me. Okay. Mostly I don't want to get to the end of this and be like, and you have not recorded, which would be very which would be very me. Okay, it looks like uploading your high quality. Okay, great. I think we're good. And if not, we're going to spin it back and play it twice. So today, my beautiful friends, I'm going to try to do this one in a rather snappy manner. Consider it one of our listicle episodes, right? The hashtag BuzzFeed, because my sweet, sweet baby sis is moving. She's buying a house. Shout out to Channing Tatum. If you don't know her, get on it. She is the owner of Lore Massage Sanctuary for Women, and she is the best healing artist, body worker. She does ashiatsu massage, but she's the best massage therapist that I have ever worked with, and I have worked with a lot. When you're in this industry, you've accumulated quite a bit of body work, and she truly is outstanding. I am so excited because she's moving a new studio to St. Paul, building an in-home studio right next door to me. I'd like to think it means that I'll get massages all the time, but I know she's super duper booked. I'm actually going to put her link in the show note because she really is, she's a powerful little healer. So I am going to go try to put my powers of lifting heavy things to good and help her move some furniture, ? I don't know. So anyway, we're going to try to get this done quickly. I'm sort of toying with, am I going to make these all like little mini episodes where we can deep dive? I don't know. I'd love to hear your feedback. Some of them are going to be pretty familiar. If you're new to the pod, they're all going to be new. So yahi. I'd love your feedback. If you're like, yes, Kinsey, I want 10 small episodes diving into each of these, hit me up. You know where to find me. Kinsey at fitafter40.info or on Instagram, kinsey.does.the.fitness. But without further ado, we are talking about the top 10 tips. Top 10 tips. That's fun. Top 10 tips for if you are getting started with fitness, especially in perimenopause and beyond. So let's just dive right in, right? So the very first one, if you shut the podcast off after this, and these I should say are in no particular order other than this one, listen to it and then hang up on me. That's fine. I have healthy self-esteem. But number one is that we are aiming to get strong, not skinny. Gosh, I told you I'm going to try to keep this short, so I'm going to try to say off my soapbox, but we have spent as women, especially in this society, so much time wasting time, resources, health on trying to get skinnier. That is what we have always been taught. Get smaller. But guess what? Especially when it comes to healthy aging, when we are quote unquote skinny often leads to frail. Frail often leads to sick, loss of autonomy, dementia, all these different things that reduce our quality of life exponentially. So skinny is not our friend. Strong, autonomous, muscled, that is how we live vitally, how we live big, how we live autonomously, right? All of these longevity tests, I just did a full podcast on 5 longevity tests. They were all strength and muscle related. There is a reason for that. Muscle is medicine, and it is how we sustain really the word that keeps coming to mind is autonomous, right? That's really the goal as we get older and older, is being able to really be in charge of our faculties, being able to fall and get up without breaking anything, being able to make it up and downstairs with our groceries, or just up and downstairs, period. So this is one of those things, if we can work on the mindset around having to shrink ourselves and start building the mindset around supporting ourselves and getting muscle on our frame, this is a really imperative starting point. This is where it all really, this is what it boils down to. That's the whole reason this podcast exists, right? My whole life, my whole existence is literally built around encouraging and helping women build strength, to put muscle on their frame, to move better, to move foundationally better. Not to mention, this one probably I'll take the longest time. Not to mention, right, when we are talking just about like body comp, we sort of have gotten it wrong as women. We were sold the wrong information. We were told to move more, eat less, and good luck, right? But now we know that every time we diet, we shave off muscle, which is our most calorically expensive tissue. So the more muscle we have on our frame, the higher our BMR is going to be, the better our quote unquote body comp is going to look and feel, if an aesthetic goal is what you're looking for. So if you're like, okay, whatever, like autonomy is great, but like I also want to feel good. Having muscle, JJ Virgin calls muscle our metabolic Spanx, right? It just literally tightens and holds everything in. When we are rapidly losing weight loss, we know that a huge, significant percent of muscle is lost with that. So if it's natural, like without unaided medically, we're looking at like 25 to 30% of the weight we lose quickly is muscle. When we have a GLP-1 kick in or assist from GLP-1 and we don't have that protein muscle combo with it, we see up to, or strength training combo, I should say, we see up to 40% sometimes of our muscle loss. And muscle is hard to build. Obviously, it's not impossible, hence the reason that I'm here talking on the mic, but it is much easier to lose than it is to build. So when we are talking about metabolic health as well, we want to have that muscle on our frame. Not to mention that as we age, just naturally after the age of 30, we start to see a decline in muscle. We talk about it all the time on the podcast, but when we are in that perimenopausal phase, women can lose from 8 to 15% of muscle alone if we don't have lifestyle guardrails in place. The coolest thing about muscle and why we look at getting strong is because it is literally never too late to put muscle on our frame. We can always build muscle, even if we've never done it before. And that is kind of like a magic trick, right? So tip number 1, aim for strong, not skinny. We done with that. We are healthy now. We have a healthy body. We have a healthy heart. We have a healthy brain. The systems work together. Support yourself. You are worth it. I don't want you to shrink. I want you to grow. I want you to take up space, and I want you to feel powerful and good in your body until we just drop one day, right? Okay. Number 2, strength over cardio. Okay, so like a little bit controversial. I'm not saying don't do cardio, right? I'm not saying cardio is El Diablo or anything. But if we have a limited amount of time that we are willing to put into quote unquote exercise, I want you to put that into strength training sessions. We're going to talk about this in a second as another tip, but we're looking at as little as 2 days a week where we are total body strength training. That is huge. That is enough to build muscle. Building muscle is harder than maintaining muscle. Maintaining muscle is actually pretty easy. So once we have it on our frame, a little goes a long way. But the point is, we can't build muscle with cardio. So we are not going to see all of those body composition benefits if we are not giving our body the proper adaptation to put muscle on our frame. And this is kind of scary for a lot of women I found early on, especially women who kind of grew up in that area where we were taught to, for lack of a better term, cardio bunny era. I was that, right? Anytime you saw me in the gym, I was on the treadmill. I thought that I had to burn off a certain amount of calories, and that was what fitness was. I knew how much I ate in a day, and if I could work off more than I was I was safe, was pretty much how my brain felt. But now we know that we can't build muscle from strength. Cardio has other benefits, right? We have heart health. Certain types of cardio can help with our bone. Guess what? Both those things happen from strength too. So again, we're not tossing the baby out with the bathwater when we're not doing cardio. And if we have limited time, and I'm assuming I'm treating this as someone who is new to fitness and wants to get started in a way that will promote their health. Starting with less goes a long way, right? Because when we're trying to do a total life overhaul, the likelihood of sticking with it, pretty low. But if we just ask ourselves for 2 days, this is a pretty great jumping off point. A couple weeks ago, we did the 4 steps to taking care of yourself in perimenopause. That's why we talked about strength. There is a whole other podcast if you want to deep dive on it, on fat loss and where strength training and cardio come into play. It's pretty fascinating. Again, if you're interested in little solo eps on each of these, let me know. All right. Tip number 3, eat your damn food. I get it though. I get it. Oh God, do I get it? I hope in this lifetime we are able to slowly and gently start to reframe food for exactly what it is, which is just building blocks, right? Literally, food is building blocks. We give food to our body, it breaks it down and uses it in different aspects, different information. We've got amino acids from protein that break down as building blocks to every sort of tissue, cell structure, hormone, etc. We have carbs, which help to fuel our body. We have fats, which play a whole bunch of different roles, both from an energy system into helping with nutrient absorption. But the point is, food isn't our enemy. It is just something that we need to survive. And guess what? If we are living in a deficit, if we have lived in a deficit, we are putting our system, we are really taxing our system, right? From a couple different avenues. One, if body comp is a goal of ours, we are just going to, it's very hard to see body comp goals, especially in midlife when we are in that chronic deficit. And for a lot of women, that's kind of where we've been living. We've been at this weird, like 1,200 calories that we were taught out of arbitrarily. That's not enough to feed a toddler. I was there myself, or less. So we have to actually start to reverse dieting slowly so that we are getting up to an adequate amount where our body feels fed. Because we're holding on to that, right? Our body feels like it is in a scarcity mindset. It's worried that it's in a famine. So it's doing its best to help us, but that doesn't really support body comp. It also means that we're using things like muscle to break down for fuel, which again, we want to preserve muscle. Other reasons that it's really important is that we don't want so much excess stress. So chronic dieting creates incredible stress on our body. Yes, acute stress is very important and it helps build resilience. It helps to strengthen our system. We need acute stress is good. Workout is a stress, right? Sometimes when people like play around with fasting, that's where there can be benefits, but we don't want chronic stress. Our bodies are already going through a lot of shifts hormonally. We already see an uptick in inflammation as we start to see that drop in estradiol through perimenopause. Eating helps to take our body out of a panic mode, right? So support your body, and that helps to take it out of that stress mode. So for so many reasons, we need to eat. Not to mention just the importance that protein plays, which we've talked about so many times. And again, we're probably actually going to do a protein episode pretty soon again, because it seems to be something that everyone wants to keep talking about. And I love that. Let's keep talking about it. It didn't get talked about enough for a long time, but we need to eat protein in order to support everything, but in order to support those muscles. Remembering too, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, that as we get older, we need more protein because our body becomes less efficient at digesting and utilizing those amino acids. Number 4 for our tips for getting started in perimenopause. Start at the beginning. I'm just going to say this once, I think. Maybe I'll say it a couple times. All of these tips, they really can be taken to the bank at any stage of life, right? That's kind of how health is. Health is health across our lifespan. So if you're 20 and you're listening to this, if you're 70 and you're listening to this, this will all translate. Starting at the beginning is kind of the whole ethos behind this. I was going to say, I don't even know what I was going to say. The whole ethos behind this podcast is helping women learn how to get started with strength training the right way. Because for too long in the fitness world, I saw a lot of things that were not very helpful. We didn't really spend a lot of time teaching people form, especially in group fitness formats. There's not really a lot of attention to form breakdown, to working on underactive muscles, to helping correct muscle imbalances. We don't really treat a person as an N of 1 in most group settings, because how could we possibly? This is one of the 2 major reasons that I created Fit After 40 with small group training. It's so that if a woman comes in and joins a group that is full, let's say someone joins our 7 a.m., 4 of the women have been working out with me now since November, and they're moving very proficiently. It would be absolutely inappropriate for me to bring the new person in and have them start to move the same as people who have been working out since November, right? We want to build her foundation. Even if she's been working out for a long time, I want to tune her up like a car. Our bodies are machines. So we want to make sure everything's firing properly, especially as we start to think about that lifting heavier, quote unquote, weights. So really giving yourself permission to peel back. And I'll be honest, as someone who's gone through this is kind of an ego game, right? And I don't say ego in like a shameful way. Ego is just, it drives us. It keeps us safe. It keeps us driven in a positive way. Also, ego is a very positive thing as well. But this is one aspect where it can also sort of become a dangerous thing, right? When I used to coach in more group fitness classes, and I'd have someone brand new to fitness, never done any fitness before in their life. They'd come in on a day and we'd be doing, let's just say we'd be doing snatches, right? A very explosive, a very expert level move, truly. And I would let them know like, hey, we're going to be doing this move. I don't recommend doing it because today I want to just really focus on even seeing where our body's at, practicing a squat pattern, right? Practicing an overhead pattern. Our mechanics aren't let's just start at the very beginning. And of course, having been there myself, I get nervous walking into fitness too. There would always be, I shouldn't say always, but I comfortably think like 95% of the time. I think like 1 in every 25 people would actually say, okay, that makes sense, I'll pull back. But the majority of people would see other people doing things and they would just dive right in. Usually because they didn't want to be judged for not doing the same thing. Usually because they didn't want to be left out, usually because they didn't realize how much skill goes into a movement. So a lot of this is shame on us as a fitness industry for not being like, start at the beginning. It is a skill, but this is just for you no matter where you're getting started. This is maybe a permission for you, permission slip, if you will. If you do group fitness, for example, to go in, and if you see a move that looks pretty complex and you're like, yo, I don't know how to squat yet, you have permission, and I encourage you to start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Just Julie Andrews that biz natch. Next up, if it hurts, it's wrong. And now this is one of those where it's like a little bit nuanced, right? Because eventually as you become more proficient, we want to feel challenged, but we don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel joints. We don't want to feel our low back. If it hurts, we don't push through it. Again, this is something that I experienced myself before I was in the fitness industry. I've told the story a million times, but it's just, I think it bears repeating because I see it so often, is that we don't really realize that pain is a red flag for mechanically being off, right? So if I feel my back in a lift, chances are there's something going on with the way that I'm driving off the floor. So maybe I'm driving off through my toes. Maybe I'm not contracting through my core, right? I'm not able to brace my core, so my low back is taking the work. Maybe my hips are off, so I'm driving more up with my right leg than my left leg. There's so many different things. If I'm feeling it in my knee, again, chances are during push-off, we're probably a little bit more toe dominant, so we're pushing into the knees. There might be turnout at the foot. There's so many things mechanically that could be wrong in a situation, which is why you should work with a trainer at least for a month. Anyway, point is, it doesn't mean I just got to push through it, right? I think we've also, as the fitness industry, done a disservice of saying pain is gain, right? We sort of have created this expectation that there is a certain level of pain with fitness. And I go into certain classes and I just see, especially when there's really heavy weights, I see people just strapping up, right? They're putting on their compression sleeves on their elbows and on their knees. They're putting on their weight belt to support their core. They're putting on all these things because they have tennis elbow, because they have a weak knee, because they have ankle pain. Instead of going, holy crap, if I'm in this much pain, something is off and my form needs to be fixed, because it is possible and it is important and it is necessary to move pain-free before we go to the next level. So if it hurts, do not push through it. The story I was going to tell is about how when I was just a fitness baby, I was working front desk and I was taking a lot of classes. My knee started to hurt when I squatted. And my brace, I was one of those people with a brace, right? I realized I could put a compression sleeve around my knee. And for a while that helped. And then as I started getting heavier or moving faster, the compression sleeve wasn't really enough. So I had to go up to a higher compression. And then eventually I had to go to one that kind of like strapped on, right? It had the Velcro and held it a little bit closer. And pretty soon I had PVC pipes that were holding the patella in place just so that I could squat. And in my mind, I was like, yeah, this is me getting stronger. And then I learned about movement mechanics and I realized, no, this is me squatting with incorrect form. So if it hurts, it's wrong. And the good news about this is that a lot of people, especially women that I've worked with at Fit After 40, because we associate certain movements with pain, like squatting means knee pain or low back pain, deadlifts mean low back pain, so I can't do it. We think that we can't do these movements when in truth is we just haven't gone back to the last step or tip, which is started at the beginning. Women, for the most part, unless they have something that is like the only thing that can fix it is surgery, like bone on bone for knee replacements, for example, women who have never been able to squat without knee or back pain are now squatting without knee or back pain, deadlifting without knee or back pain because we got started the right way, right? We smoothed out movement imbalances. We taught them how to move mechanically in those shapes. We taught them how to connect and brace to the core. We worked from the ground up. So it is possible. And like I said, it is necessary. And just for like functional life, if we're thinking of that autonomy piece as what we want as we age, these moves aren't crazy asks, right? I'm not asking you to learn how to like power snatch or whatever. I'm asking you to squat, which is getting up and down off a toilet, which is getting out of bed or getting out of a car, or little mini steps like lunges every time we go up the stairs, right? These are things that translate into everyday life. So again, we're not injuring ourselves. We're not putting ourselves, we don't roll our ankle. We don't blow out our back just doing basic things. These are the things that bulletproof our body for outside the gym. These are always my favorite stories that I hear from clients. I literally just had a conversation with a woman in the Saturday session. She's amazing. She's been doing it for about a month. And she was like, it's been really cool because I feel myself getting really strong in just day-to-day things, like the way that I'm able to unload groceries and carry them up the stairs without being breathless, or just noticing the way that I'm carrying myself throughout the day and things that I'm able to lift. I got a really funny text today from another woman who's like, I had a 50-pound bag of salt and I wanted to practice using my new muscles. She's been working out with me for about 6 months. And she's like, and then I ripped my pair of pants. Thanks a lot for the butt muscles. And I was like, that's right, chica. Right. But that the point here being that this isn't just for Arnold Schwarzenegger looks, which is pretty cool too, and also really hard to get. It's to keep our skeleton and muscles moving for as long as we want them to be. Okay, next up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rest equals results. This is another one that I really love because it gives people permission to not hate exercise, right? If we feel like we need to work out every single day, which, wow, myself included, but a lot of people think is the case, nobody's going to want to do it. I mean, there's a couple of us who just like to do it, but it's not a lot of us, right? That sounds awful, especially if you're busy, you have a full-time job, you have kids you're taking care of, parents you have to make dinner for, right? All of these things in your life. Finding time to work out every single day of the week alone feels like an impossible task, not to mention, like, I'm tired. Great news. Stop it. We don't want to do that. I've told stories all the time about clients I've seen come in and out of the studio. That's another thing that I love about Fit After 40, our small group personal training, is that women are only allowed to take at most 3 sessions a week. They do 2 or 3 sessions. Spoiler, this is coming up next. They are not allowed to do quote unquote unlimited classes for many reasons. One, you don't get results if you're constantly working out, right? You need to give your body time to recover. Both your muscles and your nervous system needs to recover. If you're not resting, not only are you setting yourself up for more injury, you're not letting systemic inflammation come down, you're not letting the muscles repair. And when you're going into workouts, you're already zapped because your nervous system has not had time to cool off. So you simply won't be able to lift as heavy or go as hard or go as controlled as you would if you give yourself a break. So this is huge. You need to be resting. And it is the other reason, it's because I've just seen way too many people burn out. It's another one of those things where the fitness world did people dirty. And honestly, this is something that I also blame group fitness for in a loving way, because I love group fitness. Don't get me wrong. That's where I got started. I love so much about it. But so many of us, our gym had challenges where it would be a month. And if you did 25 workouts in 30 days, you'd get a t-shirt. That's a lot of workouts for any, and these were like hit circuit training. Like that's too much. That's too much. You're going to stop seeing results. Your body's going to hate it. It's going to go kaput. Rest equals results. And as I always say when we talk about rest, I'm not saying like for the rest of those, say you do 2 strength training a day, the rest you just sit and do nothing, right? You still are walking. We're still moving. Life should be very active and full, getting outside. There's so many benefits. Man, I'm going to like chase this woman down. I just listened to a podcast on the importance of the sun and it sounds like she's not safe. I'm going to chase this woman down. She's a genius. I can't think of her name right now, but I will be sharing her stuff on my Instagram all the time and hopefully fangirling hard enough that we can get her on. I literally just found her. So anyway, point is, it's just rest. Stop it. Knock it off. Take your rest. Take your breaks. Take your breaks between your workouts too. So as best you can, try to get some days between your workouts. Tip 7, you can get stronger with 2 to 3 days of training a week and no more. There was a study, I believe it was done in the 80s, that was pretty landmark in muscle, or what's their name? Mind Pump Radio. They reference it all the time. So finally I was like, okay, I got to read this study. But the study showed that 90% of the benefits you will ever get from strength training happen in the first 3 workouts. So not saying like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but the 3 workouts of your week. Probably because we're able to take those rest days, right? Which means we're able to really go harder. And when we're looking to challenge strength and muscle, we need to challenge that. We need to challenge with load or reps or something where we progressive overload. So we need to be rested for it. But the cool thing, other than when people went up to 4 days, there was sometimes diminishing returns, especially in newer people, was that for people who were just working out twice a week, so those 2 strength training sessions a week, guess what percentage of benefit they were getting? If you said 80% benefit, you were correct. So that's pretty major. If from 2 to 3 is just 80 to 90%, you're getting almost all of the benefit from strength training in 2 days a week. And when you are early on, that's going to be, you get even more, right? Because of our newbie gains. So start there. Again, we are training and resting your nervous system as much as we are your muscles. So this is great news. Now, it can't just be like random workouts, which again, a little bit of a spoiler. You want this to be systematic and progressive, but this is pretty good news, my friends. This is pretty good news, especially in midlife. Like I said, the biggest limiting factor when women are trying to get started is time. It feels impossible. There's one woman who, she and I have been on and off since January, and every time something just happens to come up, it's very hard for us to prioritize ourselves. It's very hard when we are, and they're all legitimate, right? It's when we are living in a busy life, it's hard for us to even conceptualize where we could possibly make time. I feel this for my own things. Obviously, at this point, workouts are something that I just do without thinking about it. It's become my no-brainer. That's what I always say, right? Do something until it becomes a no-brainer. I've been doing it for a long time. But whenever I try to implement new things, this is something that I struggle with. I'm like, I'm in a business course right now. And whenever I try to sit down, there are many days in a row where I get to the end of the day, I'm like, crap, I didn't do my homework or I didn't do my lesson because my life is so full. I'm like, where does it even go? When the truth is, there is actually more time than we think. We need to experience it to trust it. And that's another reason that starting small is a major, because that has been some of the best feedback I've gotten from Fit After 40 is people who thought they literally didn't have any time and now have been showing up consistently since November. And that is major. We just need to learn that for ourselves. And it just takes ripping off the Band-Aid and trying it. And yes, it does mean getting uncomfortable. And yes, it does mean prioritizing it over other things sometimes. And so it does take time. And that's why having a coach there with you and giving yourself ample amount of time to really let that become something that you've just now started showing up to. It's just who you are now. Plan for it to be a little bit challenging at first, or a lot of bit challenging. That's okay. Okay. Tip, 7, 8. 8, dead doesn't mean you did better / sweat isn't an indication of success, especially as we start to get into strength training where we're doing like 6 to 8 reps and then resting for 3 minutes. It gets kind of hard to sweat, especially for me, especially with upper body, but there are some people who are just less prone to sweating. So I have had a lot of clients leave a session being like, I feel like I didn't really work that hard. But then like months later, they're like, oh, look at these gains. Or like weeks later, they're like, oh, look at this muscle I found. Or like, check out this sweet picture of my leg, right? So we want to break the paradigm again of feeling like we need to be dead after every workout. This kind of goes up to like the strength, not cardio too. This is something that most group fitnesses are popular because they leave us feeling really wiped. So just as a society, we've decided like, if I know I got a good workout because I feel dead. And what that means is that we probably pushed a little too hard. We probably never got to a strength training place. We were probably just working in endurance. So if you've been doing it for a year, 2 years or more, and you're like, wow, my body has kind of stayed the same. I haven't really put on any muscle. I haven't really seen my body fat move. I haven't really gone up in weight. This is because we're really just stuck in the endurance loop if we're always ending feeling like we got our butt kicked, like we're just go for 60 minutes. That's not how strength training works. And like I said, sweat, especially as we're going to strength training, there are huge periods of breaks. The other thing that I like to say about this is that a good workout, yes, every once in a while, you're going to feel really tired afterwards. And it might have everything to do with the workout, and it might have everything to do with the fact that we are at a certain point in our cycle and we just aren't sleeping as well, or we're in perimenopause and we have really high anxiety, or there's so many different things that factor into why we would feel dead after a workout. But overall, if you leave your workout and then kind of feel zapped for the rest of the day, like my half marathons are a really good example of a workout that is, I'm just done. Right? I finish a half marathon and I sit in a bathtub with Netflix on my phone and I ask Marcus to bring me popcorn to the tub. And that's who I am for 24 hours. When I finish my strength training sessions, usually I have more energy, right? Because these are supportive. Our system likes to move. We're increasing serotonin, dopamine. We have this energy boost, this mood lift. I did a very heavy lift this morning. I'm using a new app. I think I told you last week where I'm working with a trainer. The app shows me how many animals I lifted. Today, no big deal. I lifted 6 narwhals. But the point is, I can do this podcast because not only am I not dead, but I actually have kind of a boost of energy from it, right? It gives us life. It doesn't take our life from us. Okay. Next up, do not skip your warm up and cool down, especially in midlife. This is something we are usually able to get away with in our 20s. Let me speak from experience. This is something I could get away with in my 20s, right? I would roll into class late. I would miss my warm up, and then I'd roll out of class and get ready to coach right afterwards and not do a cool down. Now, if I miss my warm-up cool down, I'm going to wake up the next day with a sore shoulder. It won't be right after, but I will sleep on my shoulder weird. It will seize, and then my shoulder will hurt for 3 weeks. We need to be bringing blood flow and mobility into our joints, thinking of it as like lubricating an axle, right? We need to bring movement into those tissues before we bring weight into those tissues. Remembering too that as we go through perimenopause and beyond, one of the things that we start to see as we lose estradiol is that stiffness in joints, even like sometimes that brittle feeling. We see things like frozen shoulder. So really keeping ourselves like lube up the body before and then cool it down after so that we're re-stretching. Also for the nervous system, right? It's a nice little settle back into sort of like closing of the book after a workout, setting your nervous system up for the rest of the day. Also, again, when I'm thinking about autonomy, mobility is pretty important, right? That's why getting up and down off the floor without assistance is a longevity test. Yes, that has to do a lot with strength, but it also has a lot to do with mobility. If you don't have the hip mobility, first of all, okay, you can absolutely get it. Don't worry. That's pretty darn normal. But if you don't have the hip mobility, you're not going to be able to do it. So we really want to think of that also as a tool, again, when we're thinking about living autonomously, living healthily, being able to be active our whole lives. That's a lot of times when we start to see that like chronic pain, right? Because we have joints that are locked in position just from like chronic sitting or holding ourselves in one position, whatever the case may be. So Super duper important, especially the older we get. I love a warm-up. Fit After 40, we do pretty extensive warm-ups. Like our first 10 to sometimes 15 minutes, we're warming up the body, especially when we're about to go into a heavy lift day, right? Because I want to make sure our bodies are warm, firing, that we've built that neurological, the neurological connection. Speaking of neurological connection, that one broke. Finally, tip 10, be specific with your training. Throwing spaghetti at the wall only gets you a messy wall. So stop wasting your time and train with specificity. This is a big one. And specificity isn't just, I want to lose weight. Okay, that is a goal. Great, love that. But what does that even mean? Does that mean that you want to lose a number, that you want to lose body fat? Does it mean that how are we going to go about it? What's our time frame? It's not even just about like specific goal setting, which is a whole other topic of itself. Oh, I dropped my pen, that we've done a lot of podcasts on here actually about. So feel free to go check those out. But it is being specific with what you are trying to achieve. So if we're trying to build muscle, we have to train progressively. And that doesn't mean showing up and doing a different set of exercises every single workout, right? That means that at least every week we're repeating certain movements generally, and we're just getting better at them so that we can go heavier in them. So if we're just sort of like 1 week we're doing like a goblet squat, and the next week we're doing, a suitcase squat, and the next week we're doing a sumo squat. Like, yes, we're doing squat variations, but we're not training one side. We're not training one squat specifically. So we're just kind of like being meh at many things versus dialed in on one thing. It also means that it's hard to track if we're going up in weight, because these are different ways of holding load. We are working the mechanics differently. So we aren't able to really even dial up in terms of like adding the weight, adding the reps. We don't know if we're progressing, right? And then it just gets all wonky bananas. That's why a lot of times when people can feel, who I've spoken with, really frustrated because they've been working out for years. Maybe they're doing, a lot of times it's Peloton, right? That's a big one right now, where they've been doing Peloton for years and they are pretty sure that like this is quote unquote as good as it gets. When the truth is, like, yeah, Peloton probably has some really good programs, but if you're just doing random programs every other week, or like YouTube forever has been a great example. I just do a lot of YouTube workouts. I'm really proud of you for doing workouts. Nobody has told us that we need to progress and be specific. So good on you for moving. A little moving is better than not moving oftentimes, unless you're doing something dangerous, right? So that's a great start. But if you're feeling frustrated, chances are that there's not enough specificity to your program. So even if one-off programs are really well designed, like maybe the Peloton programs are really awesome, but if they're not progressing the same moves, if you're not constantly repeating certain movements and then getting stronger at them, either going up in weight, going up in reps, slowing down in tempo, somehow progressing them, you're just going to kind of stay at this plateau, and it's going to get really frustrating. Also, if you're not taking your rests, there's so many pieces when it comes to strength training. The same goes for running, right? Like if you want to run a half marathon, you got to work in some training for a half marathon. I think that one's a little bit easy for people to kind of think of, right? Like if I'm training for a half marathon, I probably don't want to do 5 heavy lifts in a week and no runs, right? I will just not learn how to run. I will not get better at running. What am I even going to do? You have to start working in your short run, your long run, your speed runs, right? I still want you strength training, but your strength training is going to look a little different during this phase. You don't really, it's hard to really heavy lift and train for running. That's how I injured myself majorly when I was doing obstacle courses. But the point is specificity for a lot of people, especially a lot of active people, specificity and eating, right? We're probably not eating enough. Those two things are usually the culprits when we're like, I have been working out forever. Why? Why I no muscle? Why the stubborn belly fat, right? There are these things where we're like, I don't get it. Maybe I'm just not meant to have muscle. I understand it is frustrating. And yes, there is like a sweet sticking point for our bodies, which is why I didn't say maybe I'm not meant to be skinny, because like I said, skinny is frail. Let's break that paradigm. But if you feel like you're really plateauing on building muscle and you've been doing it for a long time, chances are there's something going on with the programming, or chances are you got to up your calories. So let's run it back real fast. 10 tips for getting started with fitness in midlife and beyond. 1, focus on getting strong, not skinny. 2, focus on strength over cardio. 3, eat your damn food. 4, start at the beginning. Build those foundations. 5, if it hurts, it's wrong. 6, rest equals results. 7, you can get stronger and will get stronger with only 2 to 3 days a week. No more starting out. 8, dead doesn't mean you did better. /sweat is not an indication of success. And I'm going to tag on there too. Ignore the calories on your watch. If you clocked really high calories during a workout, you didn't build strength, you built endurance. 9, don't skip your warm-up and cool down, especially in midlife, and don't skimp on mobility. 10, be specific with your training. If any of this feels like so untenable, or you're like, I just don't even know. I don't even know where to start. Guess what? Fit After 40, strength training for women. That was literally why we were designed. Come check out a free session, whether it's online or in person. Great news, if it's not a good fit, I've gotten to see your body move, and I can give you some good pointers to get you started. And if it is a good fit, welcome to the fam. We have fun here. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this podcast. It means the world that you are showing up to listen about how to care for your beautiful bodies and brains. I know we covered a lot today, so as always, if you have any follow-up questions, if you do want those 10 little pocket episodes, if there's any other topics that you would like covered, shoot me that text or shoot me that email at kinsey@fitafter40, that's 40.info, or find me on Instagram, kinsey.does.the.diamond. And as always, it means the world if you take 5 seconds to leave a 5-star review. It means the world if you take 2 minutes to write a review. I read them all. It means a lot. We haven't gotten a few reviews really in a while, so please let me know. Let me know that you like the thing. That's how I know we're doing good over here, that you're hearing the things you want to hear. All right, team. I'm going to go move some dressers or something. Until next time, take care of your beautiful bodies and brains. Aroo!